Hi guys. I've been seeing a lot more things about schools across the U.S. banning cell phone usage. Either they have to keep it in their bag, like before, or they're completely banned from the school for a lot of the grades. And like, they're not just limiting their usage, but they're just outright banning students from even carrying them on their person or in their bag. And honestly, that really scares me. Luckily, I mean, both my oldest daughter is 21. She's not in school anymore. My youngest, she'll be 15 this year, but she's been in homeschool for the past year. Um, I just, I kind of got really tired with all the hoopla and the drama and everything that was going on with one of the local middle schools here. And it just ended up being that they were more concerned about like making her socks were the right color for uniforms, because in Polk County, Florida, you have uniforms, versus her actually being in class. And with her scoliosis and all her uh, issues of like, she'll wake up and if she gets like overwhelmed or has anxiety, she'll toss her cookies. It just ended up being a lot easier to have her in homeschool. Of course, also being homeless didn't help either. But anyway, so obviously she's not going back even after we found a house, because it just, I think she's learning more being home. But it just feels like we're trying to solve the wrong problem, and legislators, they're choosing the worst way possible to do all this. These kids are not living in the same world that we grew up in. When I was in school, we never had lockdowns for active shooter threats. I think the last year I went to school, because I had gone back to school at 19 to finish out high school after being in what we called homeschool for a few years. And I don't recall any time from the time that I started to the time that I think I was around 21, we never had active shooter drills. We never had anything like that. We had fire drills, tornado drills, but nothing like this. The only time that I ever truly felt any kind of fear, and I mean, we were in Ohio, we weren't even in New York, was during 9/11. Of course, I had gone back to school at 19 to finish out high school, and I remember switching from going from choir to English. We had heard that something had happened, but we weren't exactly sure what. And by the time I got to English class and they had the TV running, the second plane hit the tower, and that was insane. I had the only cell phone that our family had at the time. I just had like a little, I think it was like a Nokia flip phone or something. We didn't have cable at home. It was before internet. I mean, we didn't have a computer or anything like that, so nothing like that. We had one car between the three of us, because it was me, my mom, and my grandmother. They didn't have a house phone, no TV, nothing like that. So they didn't find out what happened until I got home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. And I remember wishing that we had a second cell phone or something, so I could call them and let them know, hey, this is what happened. When I got home, I remember my mom commenting that they knew something had happened, because there was a, like the legions, like the Lion Legions or something like that, and they had taken their flags and put them in half mast. So they knew something had happened, but they weren't sure what. I just really wish that we would have had two cell phones or something, so that I could have at least checked in with them and let them know, hey, this is what happened. We're all fine. Nothing's happened at school. We're good. The world isn't ending. You don't have to worry about anything right now. Because if something would have happened at the school, they would have never known. They would have never known until somebody physically showed up on the doorstep letting them know, hey, XYZ happened. Today's students live with a kind of fear on a regular basis, I think. So many school shootings, news stories that we've seen the same thing, students calling 911, texting their parents, sharing their locations, allowing their loved ones to know, hey, this is what's going on. And that is, I've seen so many stories on like social media and the news of where these kids have reported what is going on before the police are ever involved, which is insane. They're basically, front of the line people, for first responders is what I was thinking. But that's how law enforcement a lot of the time find out about this, because somebody in the school physically called 911. And that's how families are finding their kids, how they're finding out if their kids are okay. It's how lives are saved because it's so quick. I remember seeing on the news a few years ago, before we became homeless, we still had a house and stuff, where this woman ran into the school, got her child out as well as other children, saved all of their lives from an active shooter. And that only happened because I think it was her daughter or her son had texted her and told their parent where they were hiding. And she hopped the fence and got them out through a window. I mean, what would have happened if she didn't have that capabilities to do that? You know, phones are not just about distractions in the classroom anymore. It's about safety. It's about trusting these kids to be able to know right from wrong. It's about giving these kids the tools they need to protect themselves and us in a world that we handed them. You know, if a student misuses their phone, correct the behavior. It's simple. You know, parents need to teach their kids, you know, that your phone needs to stay in your bag. It needs to stay on silent, not off, but on silent. You shouldn't be on your phone. It should be in your bag. You know, put it in a pencil box, something, but put it in your bag. You know, they just need to be able to correct the behavior, you know, proficiently, just like they would in the workplace. Because a lot of workplaces, you're not allowed to have your phone on you. I know when I worked for Circuit City, I wasn't permitted to have my phone on me. Had to be in my locker. But I still have access to it. And then, you know, you have other places that, you know, it can be in your pocket, but you're not actively allowed to be on it. You know, I mean, it's about teaching accountability and not teaching fear and distrust. Because, I mean, these kids, for these grades that all these phone bans and stuff are going to, these kids are old enough to understand, hey, you can't be on your phone right now. You know, we know you want to do your Snapchats and your TikTok and all your things, but right now it's learning time. It's no different than a job. You know, if we keep stripping these kids from the resources and expecting them to thrive, let them keep their phones. Teach them respect, teach them boundaries, but don't take away the only lifelines that they might have. And that's kind of my take on all of this stuff that's been posted across social media about phone usage and everything, that I think we would be better geared towards teaching these kids and treating them more closer to, you know, a mini adult versus just a child. They're not stupid. You know, I mean, God, by the time that I was 11, I was babysitting 3 kids, one that was 9 months old and a set of 7-year-old twins. You know, I mean, they're not dumb. And the more that we treat them like they're just a child and they don't know any better, the more that's the way they're going to act. And in a society today of where everything is ingrained with computers and tablets and everything else. I mean, a lot of schools, I know half the schools over here, you don't have books anymore. Everything's on your iPad or your laptop that you get. You don't have books. So, you know, taking away that one item that they have to be able to do stuff, you know, is kind of stupid. And I know, like my oldest daughter, she's a type 1 diabetic. Her phone was her monitor for her Dexcom. It connected to her phone. That's what she used. So now I've seen a few posts this morning of where they were saying, oh, well, no phones in the classroom is going to make it so bullying doesn't happen. They're going to bully these kids regardless. Bullying is just something that occurs in school, unfortunately, because a lot of people are hateful. But now you have this one child that is singled out who still has the capabilities of having their phone on them because it's medically necessary. Now that kid's going to get bullied even more because now they get to do something that other kids can't. You know, I mean, I know my daughter got it a lot because she was eating in class. Oh, she's not allowed to eat in class. Oh, sorry, honey, she's got a medical situation because she has diabetes. She needs to be able to eat in class because she's got a low. You know, so it kind of just, I just feel that there's a better choice versus just banning them completely. I don't know. But I feel that either a lot of people are going to be pulling their kids out of schools this year in the states that have banned phones completely, or there's going to be a lot of issues, and this is going to be way more hassle than help. Kids are supposed to be in school to learn the things so that they can survive in the wild. They're not supposed to be in school to deal with, oh, well, your socks are the wrong color if you have uniforms. or I don't know, you've got a headband on that's gang colors. You know, I got docked for that when I was in high school. It was so crazy. And all it was a bandana that had been turned into a headband, and I wasn't allowed to wear it. So it's like, I think there's better choices to be made. But that's my take on it. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to sit here and eat my very lovely Wendy's chili that I grabbed before my husband went off to work, and watch some more, was it IGP or something on here, and then get back to book stuff. So I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day. And let me know your thoughts in the comments.